Hello, everybody, and welcome to this live practical SQL problem where I'll teach you how to remove duplicate transactions in SQL the right way. Now, let's work together on solving this problem. You will see how I will approach it, and you will learn a lot and also apply this to your own business issue. So this is a problem. You are, as a data analyst, you were informed by the account department that Q1 revenue is 8% higher than expected. They have identified the root cause to be customers who buy online and pick up in store are locked twice in the transactions database. So that is, a customer placed an order in the e-commerce database and that transaction was logged in as a successful purchase, and the same customer went also and bought the same item or more from the point of sale, that is, went physically into the store, and that transaction itself was also logged as a successful transaction. So likely a system issue at that date and time. You have same transaction, 2 or more rows per customer, which inflated revenue, and you are asked to remove this duplicate transaction. So we're going to learn today in class, we're going to learn row number window function. That's how to iterate row by row level. And we're going to learn with me how to just investigate this data. So our data has been given onto us and I've imported the file here. If you haven't seen the video on that, it's in my previous video. Just go and check how to install all flat files for your practice and follow along. So I'm going to use this data sales duplicate. So I'm going to try and see everything in that table. So select asterisk from dbo dot sales raw. Let me just use this one. I have this one, sales raw. All right, so let's open that up. So this is all the column that is in this flat file that has been given to us, and let's make a sense of what we are seeing over here. Let me zoom in a little. I haven't spent much time on this data, so you also follow along with me. So I have the customer ID here, and today is a unique identifier for this customer on row 1. This is the customer name. These are the items he bought, the unit price, total amount. This source meaning he went physically into this store and bought it from the transaction came from the point of sale. So this is the store ID, STRLAX, session ID. There was no session ID because it was not online, and terminal 5. If I want to now check for duplicates, okay, if there are duplicate records by all of these customers, which customer is appearing twice, I will use a window function. So I'm putting a comma because asterisk is going to give me all of the columns. I want to add a new column that will check which first row for each of the customer. If this customer 2223 appear twice, then we should have one row for this one and another row for the other row. Okay, so let me first of all just check visually. Let me delete that comma, all right, and let me just order by. Let me order it by the customer ID, all right, in ascending order. So I don't need to put ascending. Everything here will work. So let me just check. So I've sorted this customer ID now from smallest to largest, and I can see I have 2 customer ID here, 1009, 1009, and that's Marcos and Patel. But these are different customer names, but they have the same customer ID. So what can be the problem? Let me check the store where they bought from. All right, so likely they are from different cities. This is like Atlanta and this is New York City. So different customers from different stores. So this is not a duplicate. But look at over here, 1084. Okay, it's not a duplicate as well. There will be different cities. So that's correct. Is there a duplicate transaction here? So in order for me to just make my view easy, so for me to be looking at it one after the other, that's what the row number is going to do for me as a new column. Okay, so I press a comma so I can see all of the columns. That's what the asterisk is for. We're going to open up, use the window function, row number, which is going to go over each of the rows. And I want it to go over each of the rows, and I want it to partition it by, to start looking at it from the customer ID column. And let's order it by the transaction date over here, so we can see the transaction date from smallest to largest as well. So transaction date, I don't need to use ASC in here. Order by transaction date as row number. Okay, so partition by customer ID, order it by transaction ID as row number. So this makes sense now, so I don't have to stress myself. If I zoom out, I now have a 1. So you can see that this 1 means that they are not duplicates. So earlier I was looking at 1009. I had to struggle by myself to kind of know if they are duplicates or not. So this is not a duplicate. So we have 1 and 2 here. Okay, so it's telling me that this is a duplicate. You can see that this second one is the same as the first one, but that's not the case. You see, so they have the same customer ID, but they are not actually different. So the names are different as well. So it will be a good case to also partition it by the customer name as well, in addition to the customer ID. So I'm going to say customer ID and also partition it by the customer name. Okay, so that has erased that. So all of my ones here are unique rows, they are not duplicates. Let's look at the one that is 1 and 2. Makes sense. So 2055 Claire Mola, same person, same product, same unit price, same total amount. Okay, now this is where it gets interesting. This is where the problem happens. So this customer, 19th of February, 2:23 p.m. went online to buy that product. Probably the transaction did not go through, but the money was deducted from her account, so the system got that as a transaction. Then she physically decided to go into the store in about 30 minutes later. That will be a good time for her to drive or commute. Goes into the store to buy a monitor light and bought it that same day and she paid with her POS card, all right, maybe a credit card or a card, and that transaction went through. So on this is the reason why sales was inflated in Q1, and you can see we only have transactions from January, February, and March. So the issue now is we want to only exclude the duplicate rows. So all the ones that are 2, we want to remove them from this data and only keep the first one. And I've sorted it by transaction date. So it looks like the issue, there's a pattern here. Let's identify another pattern to see if it correlates. So row 7071, same customer name Fatima Nguyen, same product she went to buy. Where did she go to first? She went first to the website, same issue, and then went next to the POS. Let me go and check the last one here. Diana Gracia, USB-C hub. She bought 2 units. She went to the website at 9:27 in the morning before going into the store physically at 10:50, 10 minutes to 11 to buy the same product. So we want to just remove the first row here. Okay, so how do we just remove that? We're going to use a concept called common table expression, where we're going to put all of these results into a virtual table and extract only the first row from that. So it's quite straightforward, and this is the syntax to create like a virtual table, and that CTE stands for common table expression. I'm just going to name it like that. So with CTE as, everything in here now is a query. Okay, everything in here is a query. Everything that's a query. So then in my outer query, I'm going to write a select statement to pull all the records from this table here. That's it. And the table is called CTE. With a where clause, filter only where this row number, this is the column name of the column. So where RN, all right, you can see the column here, that's in the CTE table, is equal to 1. All right, so I have to run all of this query, not just this one. I have to run everything here so that I can get only that one here. Okay, it's saying me that I have an order by in this CTE. Order by are not allowed. So I'm just going to comment that out so I can run everything now. So out of 135 rows that I have initially, I now have 100 rows, and these are all of the transactions that are without duplicates. So we've excluded all the customers that went and bought, that went into the website, that ordered online and the payment went through, but customer it was not a successful transaction, probably website crashed or something, and that same customer then physically went into the company to order that same product. So this is a technique you use to identify raw numbers, and I hope it was a good insight for you. Please like this video, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.